Hey, Chris Cantelmo here with another vibration. I'm in my kitchen here. I'm going to do a quick prep for Mimosa Hostilis. You can see my Grateful Dead posters. I'm a big fan of the Grateful Dead, and this poster is an interesting one. This is, I've got what, number 333 out of 500 of this particular print. You notice that Grateful is spelled incorrectly. This is a poster that was done in, what, 1970 or something. They had been around long enough where people should have known how to spell Grateful Dead. But anyway, so what I've got here, this is 100 grams of powdered Mimosa Hostilis, apparently from Hawaii. I can't verify that for sure, but supposedly from Hawaii. And that's a crock pot there. And this is a measuring cup. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how I like to purify DMT from this stuff. And what I want to get across to you is how simple the process is. People get real nervous about doing it. It's so easy. You don't need one of those to do it, so don't worry about that part. The main thing that freaks people out when they start doing this is they think that chemistry is difficult, or that in this particular purification, that things need to be precise. They don't. So let's get at it. This is what you do. You take your bark, put it in your crock pot. Now what I like to do is add enough water. So there, can we get in there? Can you see what's happening here? That's what that looks like right there. I'm going to do that. Now that's 100 grams. So I'm going to start with, I think I'm going to need about, I'm going to put about, let's see, if we had 1 cup, that's about 1 cup. What you want to do is you want to get all the bark wet without adding so much water that things get diluted. See, I'm going to add a little more. So right now that's about 2 cups. And you want to, I'm creating a little bit of, you can see the powder, that dust coming up. You don't really want to inhale this dust. It's not particularly good for you, just like any other dust. Anyway, so you do that. You can see you get it just like you were making tomato sauce or something. Stir it around a little bit. Just want to get all the bark nice and wet. And now I'm going to go grab my vinegar. Be right back. Sorry about that. Should have had this ready to go. So now I just take my distilled white vinegar, and I'm going to pour, I don't know, maybe half a cup, just a little. You just want to acidify things. I'm going to add another. I think we're going to need about another. So a total of a cup. Add a half a cup of vinegar, bring it up to another cup. So now I've added a total of 3 cups to 100 grams. And we're going to mix it all up. Stir it up. Oh, stir it up just like you're stirring up your pasta sauce. Or some kind of chili, like a thin chili or something. I don't know. You get the idea. You can smell the vinegar coming up. Mix it up. Okay. Get your cover of your crock pot. Mine's a little dusty from the last time I did this. And we're going to turn it on. And why isn't it coming on? Oh, is it plugged in? There we go. And now I'm going to put on low heat for, I put it for 3 hours. We're going to let that go. And what's going to happen there, what's going to happen here, is right now, the DMT is in, it's probably a salt in the cells. It's existing probably in an ionic form. And in this process, the vinegar is going to help break down the cell walls, and because you want to release the DMT, you got to get the DMT out of the cells, break down the cell walls, break down the cell membranes, release it into the solution. The acid helps that. The acid also helps to increase the ionic strength of the solution, so that later when we do an extraction, you want as few fats as possible to dissolve, to be associated with the water. The higher the ionic strength, the less problem you have with fat. But really, the vinegar at this stage really just helps break down the cell walls, I think. And so we're going to let that go now. And then I'll make another video in 3 hours, or when that's done. What I'll probably do is just let it, turn it off in 3 hours and let it sit overnight. Doesn't matter. You can do it. This stuff isn't time sensitive or anything. It's real. These compounds are really stable. So I know a lot of people get crazy in the beginning of a GordoTek, and they want to weigh everything out perfectly. Don't get silly. Don't get crazy. This is a very simple extraction. The only critical part of this whole process, and you'll see it in a subsequent video, is when once the DMT is in solution as a salt. Right now that's an acidic solution. You need to bring the solution to increase the pH. It has to be up to pH 12. It can be pH 13, it can be pH 14. All that has to be is above pH 12. It doesn't have to be precise at all. This is really just bucket chemistry. So, and you can tell when you get to the right pH, because the solution goes from a deep purple to black. It goes gray and then black. And as long as it stays black when you stir it up, you're above pH 12. And I'll weigh out enough. We're gonna see how much solution comes out of this, and based on the total volume we have, we're going to add enough sodium hydroxide to make sure by the book that it's pH 12 or above. But you'll see it's as long as it's greater than pH 12, or at least pH 12, it works. It's not that critical. So see, this stuff is easy. Anybody can do this. It's very simple. More to come. Chris Cantelmo here. Hey guys, Chris Cantelmo here with another vibration. This is the part 2 of the purification process. Now, part 1 was, I'm sorry, the first time I posted this part, it got taken down by YouTube. I don't know exactly why. So let me start by saying that in this video, I'm not going to actually, I think the reason it might have been taken down is because if there's one, you have to be careful in this step. There's one dangerous step in the purification process, and that's when after part 1, right? There's the bark. You got it in your crock pot. All right, you leave it to boil, leave it to heat up, and then what you do is you pour it out of there, and you put it in. You put it in and that's, I've already added a little bit of naphtha to that, but basically you pour it into a jar like that. And then what you have to do is you have to add a base to it. And that's sodium hydroxide or calcium hydroxide is what's used. And when you, whether or not you're working with purifying DMT from root bark or anything else, anytime you add a solid base to water, if you add sodium hydroxide or calcium hydroxide crystals to water, it heats up, because when it dissolves, it's an exothermic process. Exothermic means heat releasing. And it gives off a lot of heat. In fact, if you add the sodium hydroxide too quickly, you can actually reach the boiling point of water. So the water can boil up, steam can come up, and it's got sodium base in it. It's like you have to think of a base as the equivalent of acid, just in the other direction. It'll burn you just as much as an acid, as battery acid, this stuff. So you have to be really careful. So I'm not going to show you how to add the base, because I don't want YouTube to think that I'm, saying anything that isn't. I'm trying to give you guys. I know. Here's the deal. We all know that everyone's going to be doing it out there. I went to Yale. I've got a degree in biochemistry and biophysics from Yale. You want somebody like me to tell you guys how to do this. This is I like this stuff. Okay, I got it off Amazon. So here's the deal. After you pour out into a mason jar, you want to use the amount that I put in here. I got out about, I don't know, about 200 ml, something like that. Basically, the deal is you want to add about 80 grams of sodium hydroxide per liter of the water that comes out of here. You got to do it real slowly. You got to mix it in slowly. Add a little bit at a time. Stir it up. Add a little bit at a time. Stir it up. A little bit at a time. Stir it up. Don't let it heat up. Don't let it boil. Just take it slow. It might take you 10 minutes to stir it all in. That's what you want to do. And then once you've done that, then you just take your naphtha. You take your naphtha. You don't need to get crazy measuring out. You just take your naphtha and you pour it in like this. You know what? You just pour it in like that. And I like to. I don't want to waste this right now because I've already got some in there. But basically, you just pour it in, and then you'll see the naphtha sits on top of the water part is the dark part on the bottom, and the naphtha's on top. And what happens is, it's quite interesting. Before you add the base to this, when it's pH, it's a low pH, the DMT likes to be dissolved in the water. And a little bit might dissolve in the naphtha, but not much. It stays in the water. But when you increase the pH to pH 12 by adding the sodium hydroxide, then the DMT is just as happy in here as in here. But the water doesn't want it anymore. So when DMT dissolves in here, it can't get back out. So it all stays up here. So after you add the naphtha to the DMT, to the solution, to the basified solution, once this is pH 12 and you add naphtha, all the DMT dissolves in here and it can't really get back out. So over a few hours, add some naphtha. Wait about 3 hours. And when you add the naphtha, you don't want to shake it up, but you can just do kind of one of these, stir it up a little. You see, it might get a little cloudy. You get some bubbles sort of formed in there, and then you let it sit, and it'll separate. And then you can if you go now to part 3, you can see what to do next. So this is it's very simple. You can see it's a very simple process. So hopefully this will stay up there. Guys, be careful. You want to be careful. You know that naphtha's flammable, but be careful with naphtha. But it's just like, you know, if you oil paint and you want to clean your brushes, you would use naphtha to clean your brushes. So you don't have to, you know, you have to be just as careful as a painter, as an artist. Artists don't often blow themselves up or burn themselves. You got to be careful. Got to use your head. The naphtha, it's the stuff you use. I mean, I'm sorry, the sodium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide. It's no more caustic than you get a lot of industrial drain uncloggers that you buy. So you got to be careful with that stuff. You don't want to get it all over. You don't want to get it in your eyes. If you do get some on, you wash your hands off with water. Just rinse your hands good. It feels, if you have it on your skin, you can feel it underwater because your hands get real slippery. It's real soapy feeling. So you just rinse your hands until that soapy feeling is gone, and then the base is off your hands. So if you have any questions after viewing this, just let me know in the comments and I'll address them. See you. Chris Cantelmo here with another vibration. Hey guys, sorry for that strange introduction. Now, I got a little surprise for you guys. You're going to like what you see. Now, when we last got together, we had, after boiling the bark in acetic acid, a little bit of vinegar, water and acetic acid, water and vinegar, boil it up. Then you take that solution and you put it in a mason jar and you add sodium hydroxide to bring the pH above 12. Then on top of that you pour naphtha and you get something that looks like this. That's the aqueous solution where the DMT started. This is the naphtha. The DMT diffuses into the naphtha and has trouble diffusing back out, is the way you should think about it. Now, at this stage, what you do is you take I like to use these glass dishes. I got these on Amazon. And I'm just going to demonstrate here real quickly. You take one of these glass turkey basters and you put your dish right up against there. Can you see that? Now what I'm doing is I'm sticking the turkey baster just in the top. You don't want to get any of that black. You don't want the aqueous. You just take this part, put it right in that dish. Back in. Slurp it up. It's real easy until you get to the very low. And when you get it almost all out here, I'll just do it real quick. You just want to get that, just the organic naphtha layer. You don't want to take any of that, the aqueous purple layer below. It's the whole reason to have the naphtha, to get rid of that purple layer. Now as you approach the bottom of this, you have to suck a little more carefully. And what I like to do, instead of, usually I really squeeze in on this turkey baster when you have a lot up there. When you get closer to the bottom, you just squeeze a little bit and put the tip of the turkey baster right at the top of the naphtha. And just slowly do that a few times. You don't have to go crazy, because what you're going to do, see, okay, here we go. So, and I usually leave a little naphtha at the bottom because we're going to add more naphtha to that to do what's called the second pull. So now what I do is I put the lid on like that, then I stick that right in my freezer. Let it sit overnight. Now I've already done this to that batch that I started earlier. Now guess what? Oh, you're going to get the surprise. I think you know what the surprise is. Here it comes. Guys, What do we have here? Look at that. Those crystals. Did I tell you? It's so simple, guys. So simple. Don't be afraid of all this tech word stuff. Okay, so now what you do is you pour off. I'm so excited. Hold on. I've always got a bunch of these dishes going. Okay, so what you do is you just take this and you pour that off. I'm going to lose a few crystals here because I'm not being too careful. Just pour that off because we're going to reuse that. And the crystals, if you lose a few crystals, it doesn't matter. We'll get them later. Look at that. Look at all those crystals. Now what we want to do is now get rid of the naphtha, right? So we're going to put down a few paper towels like this. See that? These are paper towels. You take out some paper towels. You fold them up like that. Just fold them up. You don't need to be fancy. Take this, you turn it over like that. See that? You turn it right over on the paper towels. See that? We're going to let that sit for about 10 minutes. What I like to do is I like to tilt it a little bit. So I'll put something like that. See that? It makes it tilt a little. So the naphtha, excess naphtha, goes down here and then drips down there, collects on the paper towel. Now listen, I got to remind you guys, that naphtha is flammable. That'll burn your house down. It's like goes up faster than lighter fluid. You want to burn your house down? Is that what you want? I don't think you do. Be very careful with that naphtha stuff. If you burn your house down, you blow yourself up, and it defeats the whole purpose of purifying DMT. So you got to use your brains. You're not children. Children shouldn't be doing this. This is adults only type stuff. You're working with a flammable solvent. I'm doing this in my kitchen because the lighting is better. And you can see it's possible to do in your kitchen if you're careful. But I recommend you doing it out in your garage. Do it out in your wood shop. Do it in your neighbor's garage, even better. You get the idea, guys. Just be careful. It's real simple, very safe to do if you're careful, and we are careful. Now, let's just talk real quickly about how to clean up after this stuff. What you're going to do is you're going to keep recycling that naphtha. You saw I just poured it off, and I put that back in the freezer, and you just keep reusing that over and over. You lose a little bit each time. Like when I'm going to do my last pull out of here, you can see I'm going to get closer, and I'm going to get almost all of that off. Can't ever quite get all of it off without taking up some of the purple stuff. So what I'll do is typically I'll add more. I've got some more brewing in here. So I'll add more to this, mix it all up. So I try not to ever waste that little bit. But after a while it ends up coming up here, and eventually you have to part with a little of it. That's life. But you want to keep reusing that naphtha as much as you can. Now, at the end, you guys who are paying attention, you'll know that is pH 12 solution, and what the particulates after being in base, hot base too, gets real gooey. So this is not unlike Drano right there. So now, what would you do? How would you get rid of Drano if you had to get rid of it? You don't want to put too much of it. You don't want to pour tons of this stuff down into your septic tank or the sewer system. That's not very nice, especially if it goes right out to the ocean. But so what you can do is you can go back and add vinegar to this, right? If you add vinegar, right now it's pH 12. If you add vinegar back, you add if this is I've got 4 cups of total solution there. You add a couple of cups of vinegar to that, which kind of bring it pretty close to neutral. Then you can if you've got a good toilet, it's not going to hurt your septic tank or the sewer system at all. If you can, what I like to do is I take this and I put it in 5-gallon buckets. I get those orange Home Depot buckets. Pour it into a bucket. I'm sorry, neutralize it. Then pour it into a Home Depot bucket. And I let that dry out. Right? And what you're left with is a salty, sodium acetate, salty brew. That if you got a big yard and you can put it on a compost and dig it around, if you only do this once in a while and you don't have a lot, you can dig it into a compost and the bugs will eat that stuff and break it down. If you have a big open area but I guess most people don't. Most people don't have a 1.25-acre backyard like I do to allow bacteria and soil bugs to break down this stuff. So what you do, if you need to, after you dry it out in your Home Depot bucket, it's just a salty mud you've got, salty dirt. Stick it in your trash can, put it in the trash. So there's nothing dangerous about it, toxic about it. So after this has been sitting for a little while, then what I do is I just turn this over like this. Look at all those nice crystals in there. And I stick that in a drawer, a dresser drawer, and it's all bare wood inside, and it just sort of, with the little bit of naphtha that's left just gets. I live in a very dry environment, so in just a few hours, there'll be very little naphtha left on those. So it looks like tonight we're going in to see some jesters. Now, what are the takeaway messages? It's very, very simple to purify DMT. It's a very safe process unless you're stupid. In which case, if you're stupid, just don't do it. But you got to be pretty stupid to screw this up and to hurt yourself. You know where to find me. I don't usually read comments, but if you have questions, I'll check the comments in this one. Direct your questions, and I'll answer them in a future video. Chris Cantelmo here with another vibration. See ya. Howdy, people. Chris Cantelmo here with another vibration. Hey, listen up now. I've been trying to simplify the CantelmoTek even further, and I want to eliminate that vinegar step in the beginning. You don't need it. And here's what you do. You freeze, you get your bark, and you cover it, put it in I like to put it in these, the crock, put the bark in, and you cover it with water, and then you stick it in the freezer. See that? This is a freezer. You see that? This is where I keep my dishes full of Here's one here. This is a, I don't know if you can see the crystals down there. This is like a, where is it? See those crystals down there? This is like that's the 4th or 5th pull out of an extraction. So just the last of the crystals. We don't want to waste any. This is precious. So anyway, what you do, you put the bark in your crock pot and you cover it with water and freeze it. And then you put it through 8 hours of low setting on this. I have a Bella crock pot. They're all the same probably. I don't know. Put it through 8 hours. Heating. Turn it off. Let it cool down. Put it back in the freezer. And after the first 8 hours of the crock pot, the liquid in there will still be kind of clear. It'll be purple, but it will be a clear purple. Then what you do is you when it cools down, put it back in the freezer. Leave it overnight. In the morning, take it out and leave it out for a few hours so that the ice melts. Now you're going to have purple liquid, water liquid, aqueous liquid around the bark. And then you take the bark and the liquid, and you put it in a blender. I use this is a Ninja blender, but any food processor blender will do. That's the blade I used. And the Ninja. So you pour the contents of the crock pot into there, and you blend it. You try to break up the bark as best you can. And it's easier once it's been through a few cycles of heat and cool, heat and cool. And then you stick it back in the crock pot and put it on low for another 8 hours. And what happens is the liquid now goes from the clear purple to a sort of a chalky purple. And when you get that chalky purple, that's an indication that all the cells have because the whole point of boiling and adding the vinegar in the beginning is to help to break down the cell walls and to, basically you want the DMT to come out of the cells. The best way to do is to break the cells. The best way to break the cells is to freeze them and expand them, and it breaks the cell walls. And I found that 2 cycles of this does it great. And if you don't have to add the vinegar in the beginning, you add less base, because in 30 minutes when this is done, I'm going to let it cool down. I'm going to put it in a mason jar like you saw in the other videos. And I'm going to add base to bring the pH above 12. And if you don't add the vinegar in the beginning, you have to add less base to bring the pH above 12. And what we want to do, because you guys are going to get in the habit of doing this a lot, and the more base you need to use, the more expensive it is. The more materials, the more expensive it is. We want to use as few materials as possible, and we want to create as little impact on the environment as possible. So if we can use less sodium hydroxide, less base at the end of this, when we need to dispose of the extracted products, we want to be nice to Mother Nature. So the less base we add, the less vinegar we need to add at the end to neutralize it so that we can put it down the toilet or put it in our gardens or put it in the trash. So try the heat freeze, and 2 cycles seems to work. 3 cycles would probably be just blow it out of the, hit it right out of the ballpark and get huge yields in the first extraction. Chris Cantelmo here with another vibration.